What is the state of business and investment in technology in Israel given today's environment?
Yeah, I think my answer will be the same pre October 7, 23, and just with a heavier emphasis post October 7, 23. Israel is a hotbed of innovation out of necessity. The mentality, if you look at the founders of the most successful companies out of Israel, many of them are coming from a unit from the cyber intelligence unit called the Shmona Matayim, which is the 8200 unit. The necessity for innovation isn't an opt-in in Israel. There is an absolute, if you're not taking care of your job and the needs of the state and the needs of the country, then you are literally potentially jeopardizing your family, your siblings, your loved ones. You're talking about a country from north to south is maybe about a 6-hour drive. From east to west is, in some parts of the country, is 45 minutes, an hour. So it's really small. That doesn't have the friendliest neighbors either. And the necessity for innovation. And if you look historically, going back to, I'd say even the 1960s, of when I would say probably the first impetus for innovation by necessity came into place when the French had an arms embargo on the state of Israel. And when the arms embargo, the state of Israel were faced with either we do something in-house and we innovate in-state, or we go and find additional partners. And they decided to innovate in-state. And that's probably where the catalyst of innovation out of Israel started and has really snowballed since then, obviously picking up a lot more momentum, in the early 2000s through to today. And so, if you're looking at Israel as the largest acquisition in history, and just occurred a couple of weeks ago with Wiz's acquisition for $32 billion by Google, that's, I would say, a testament to the scalability of companies can get. Now, do I think that's an anomaly? I think today it's an anomaly. Do I think that is, as high it can get? I think people were thinking the same when Mobileye sold to Intel. And there's been several other large multi-billion-dollar acquisitions, and we sometimes think, okay, that was just an anomaly, but then a couple of years later, another one happens and another one. So I think the innovation by means of necessity will continue. If I see some of the technologies coming out post October 7, 23, and how they are being transferred into enterprise opportunities, I'll give one such example of where the need to be able to look underground and see what's happening underground. And the challenges with pre-construction in the United States, you've got large contractors. They've got some pre-construction that they need to do for a large building facility or a housing complex. And there's wires and there's pipes underneath. And if you mistakenly hit one, then that whole project is put on pause for, it could be a couple of weeks, it could be a couple of days, it could sometimes be longer than that. And that puts timelines way back. And there was never really the best technology to be able to identify what's happening underground. And with what happened in October 7, they needed to develop and evolve some technologies that were in existence but needed to be refined. Now that has enterprise opportunities and relevancies for the building market in the United States. So if you think about supply chain logistics, if you think about cybersecurity, defense tech as a whole, those are industries that have really gone leaps and bounds out of necessity for the type of urban warfare that has been going on, for the last couple of years that hadn't existed beforehand.
It's fascinating hearing that because it reminds me about like NASA, like, hey, we're trying to go to space, and then all the technology that would go into, putting a man on the moon. But then all the offshoots that all like, why do we need to spend all this money to go to space? It's like, well, yes, you have the end goal going to space, but think of all these other technologies that are commonplace, like microwaves or Velcro or whatever. And that all came from, I don't want to say necessity, but the desire to put a man, or the goal. So to hear the necessity of innovation for defense, it only makes sense that there's going to be so many offshoots and so many opportunities for technologies in capitalism as a whole that may not have ever come. Well, it would eventually come, but maybe not come as quickly as it is right now. And it's just a fascinating concept.
And I think one of the beauties of technology coming out of Israel is the impact that it has on the U.S. economy as a whole. many of those companies, when they come to about a Series A, they're looking to come to the U.S., which is the number one market for them to be able to expand. Just the limited market of 9 million people in one state, and coming to the United States, the opportunities and the customers that they can expand to over here is significant. And whether it's going to be the first Motorola cell phone that was the chips developed out of Israel, and coming up to today, whether it's Mobileye and driverless technologies and many others, and those opportunities that it has to be able to enhance our lives in the United States. And the capital, if I'm looking at Israeli companies on the investment side, it's not just the capital going into it, but it's the expanded resources on from the Arizona-Israel Technology Alliance. Those resources, those connections, the ability to be able to help companies to scale over here I would say is dual-fold, and I think it just has a large impact on us as a whole here in the United States.